Hi everyone, so today I'm going to make a very lovely dish. It's called Kunafa, so it's a dessert. I used to love this when I was a kid because I lived in Saudi Arabia and usually they make this dessert during Eid, so that's after the Ramadan festival. So here I'm going to make this. Here I've got about 350 grams of roasted vermicelli. Next I'm going to add in about 5.5 tablespoons of melted unsalted butter into that. Then I'm going to give it a good mix together. My god, and the smell of this melted butter is just so divine. So it's all combined together now. Once that's done, next what I'm going to do is I'm going to start making the syrup for this dish, because it's good to pour in the syrup while the dish is hot, because it's the same way, you know, how we make jalebi, where I fry the jalebi and put it straight into the syrup so that the syrup actually gets into the dish and soaks in nicely. So I'm going to make the syrup next. Here I'm going to heat up a pan. I've added in half a cup of sugar. If you want it really sweet, you can add in 1 cup of sugar. So I'm going to add in half cup of sugar and half cup of water. If you're adding 1 cup of sugar, add 1 cup of water. So in equal quantities. In goes the water. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for the sugar to melt. So I've added in the brown sugar. That's why it's brownish in color. Once the sugar melts, I'm going to add in slightly slit cardamom. So 2 cardamom pods that I've slit up slightly. And 2 small pieces of cinnamon sticks into that. In goes the cardamom and cinnamon. Then I'm going to add in 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla essence and 1 teaspoon of rose water or rose essence. And I'm going to keep mixing it until the syrup turns nice and thick. Once it becomes nice and thick and stringy, I'm going to let it cool so it will thicken further. You can see that it's forming strands when you lift the spoon up. So that's when you know it's a little bit on the thicker side and stringy. Next, I've taken a baking pan and I'm going to grease it with oil. Then I'm going to divide this vermicelli into half. So I'm going to put half of it on the bottom of this baking pan. Just creating the base, one layer at the bottom. Once that's done, I'm just going to nicely press it down and also neaten up the edges. Next, here I've got about 375 grams of extra smooth ricotta cheese. So I'm going to place a layer of that on top of this roasted vermicelli. Once that's done, I'm just going to nicely spread it out evenly. Just using a butter knife in order to do that. That's nicely done. Next, I'm going to just place on some shredded mozzarella cheese on top. So that depends on your personal preference. I've just spread about half a cup of mozzarella cheese on top. So this is the shredded mozzarella cheese. Once that's done, I'm going to put the remaining vermicelli on top and make it as a final top layer. Just spreading it on top nice and neatly. Finally, just press it all down nicely and neaten up the edges. Look at it, nice and lovely. And then I'm going to bake it off at about 180 degrees for about 25 minutes. The sugar syrup has cooled down and you can see that it's very thick. See, it's become thicker. So before I place it on top of the kunafa, I might even heat it a little bit so it'll become a little bit more watery, and then it will just spread all over the kunafa. So while this is a little bit warm and the kunafa is hot, it will help this sugar syrup to nicely dissolve right in there. So I've taken it out of the baking oven, and as you can see, it's looking so nice and lovely. And while it's still nice and hot, I'm going to place the syrup on top all over it. I went ahead and placed it onto a plate. And then I'm just going to pour the syrup on top. So this is that sugar syrup which we had made earlier. So nicely and generously pouring the syrup, and you can see it's nicely absorbing into the kunafa. Once that's done, finally I'm going to just garnish it with some pista nuts. So I've got some crushed chopped up pista nuts. I'm going to garnish it on. There we are. So I'll give you a nice closer look of this lovely beauty. It just brings back my old childhood memories when I was in Saudi Arabia. Beautiful, isn't it? Nice and creamy. There we are. So very lovely dessert. Apart from that, here it is everyone. Our lovely kunafa is ready. Enjoy. Bye.